I am here in the studio, the happiest place on earth, and I get a chance today to sit down with a really good friend, but also an American hero. He's not going to like that word at all, and I even got uncomfortable. I'm looking at him right now, and when I say that, it's one of those things, but this is a former Navy SEAL, and now he's applying all the whether it be the training or the mentality or anything like that into business, which I think is amazing with LocationTech. And we met through a friend, and I think the most important thing that you can ever do is to be able to make friends. What my pop said all the time was that you never know where someone's from, you never know where they're going, and you never know where you're going to meet up with them again. So make a friend out of everyone. I met a guy named Nick Horgan. Nick Horgan introduced me to a guy named Jeff Engel, and I get to sit down again with one of the country's elite, one of the world's elite. And so I'm so honored to be able to bring Jeff Engel to you. Why don't we get this party started?
Achieving, cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Tell me about OODA, Jeff. Yeah, I saw this term and I was like, oh my gosh, this is mind blowing. But then you had a different thought of it or a different side of it when we started talking this morning.
Yeah. So OODA actually came out of the Air Force for flying. It was really make an observation, orient yourself, make a decision, and then act. So a lot of consulting companies, they build this acronym and they force it down your throat of like, here's how it is. And I kind of really thought about it. And I learned about the terminology, the term a couple of years ago. And I was like, and I realized how I naturally do that. And it's really observe what's going on around you, like what's happening. And then, okay, so what does that mean? And then make a decision on what are you going to do about it and then act. But it doesn't stop there. And then you do it again and again and again and again. And so there's really kind of three things that I've kind of learned in life is kind of like you need to learn the language, which we talked about in the past, from a mutual acquaintance, JP, John Paul Tahorio, when I was with him 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but so he and I were in a car and we were driving. I was like, hey, how do you run 12, I think at the time it was 12 or 15 different companies. And because I was talking about some ideas and just kind of run some ideas like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And I was like, but how do you do 12 different companies? He goes, well, you learn the language. And that was just that few minutes of a conversation that just has stuck with me forever. And I've used learning the language to kind of upgrade my skill set every time I needed to do something different and go to the kind of the next level. And so,
but you're also using, bring your mic just a little bit closer because I want to make sure that they hear your sexy voice too. There we go. You utilize it where a lot of people have a theory, right? And so this is what I got from you when we were talking, and you didn't even say this part, but there's a difference between having the theory of OODA, like writing it down, putting the placards on the wall, and there's a difference to actually practicing it. You called me one time and you were out of breath. You were telling me a story and you couldn't get the story out. Like I got a long voice message. And if anyone out there ever got a voice message, like one of the voice memos, if you get it from my buddy, Jeff, you're going to get one that's very detailed and you're not going to understand it all the way. I didn't understand it at first. And I think you tried to do it through text and then you went to voice. And with the voice, I was like, what the hell just happened? But you're breathing hard. You're going through, you're at the beach. It's sunset. Tell me about this experience, because this is where you actually applied the type of theories that you're talking about.
Yeah, first, very interesting that was your observation, because actually, that's actually how I think.
Yeah,
is there was things that two stories. I want to talk about that event.
I love it.
But I want to make sure I don't get
We
off task.
we love ADD here, Jeff. You're fine, man. You're completely fine. I think that's the spice of life. A lot of times people are like, stay on task and you have to do this. No, Jeff, when we're here, we're having a conversation. I just want you, if you see a squirrel, man, go after the squirrel.
Yep.
If you like hot dogs, just tell me and we'll talk about hot dogs real quick.
So first, I'll get back. I want to make sure you don't let me forget.
Okay.
That was about an event where 2 people were drowning. It was where I used kind of referring to OODA loop, et cetera. But
Yeah.
But then what ended up happening 30 years ago, something happened with Admiral McRaven when I was working with him when he was CEO of.
Say that name a little bit slower because you move through these things quick. You did this to me one time when we were in a conversation. You were talking and you were like, General McRaven, and then you moved on. And I was like, no. Stop on that one because General McRaven, like, walk us through this part.
So
say his name slower this time.
Yes. So Admiral McRaven.
Okay. Admiral McRaven.
Yes.
Yes.
So
make my bed.
Yes.
Yes.
Make my bed. He was the guy who was in charge of the Bin Laden raid. He actually, during a certain period, his hands were touching almost everything.
Okay.
There was happening with the Special Operations Command. Prior to that, when he was the commanding officer for SEAL Team 3, he was my boss. And so there was over a couple year period, there's more than a few times that I was kind of standing in front of him. And in one of his books talks about standing in front of the long green table. You wanted to make sure you're always accountable for it. And it wasn't, in my case, the long green table. But it was a conversation where my chief and I were standing in front of him and he was sitting in his chair and we were kind of at attention and we were having to explain ourselves for something that we did and how we ran an op, et cetera. And ultimately, it doesn't matter who was right or wrong, but I still think about that op to this day. And people are like, oh, you need to get over it. Stop thinking about it. It's like, oh, no. I constantly think about it to make myself better, to think about, hey, if I'd done this, what would have happened? What's the ramifications of that? And I just keep thinking about the problem, thinking about the case. How could we have done something different? And so that I still think about that conversation and it still impacts me today and still makes me better today. So I'm not ruminating and going, whoa, to me. I'm going, whoa, how do I make that better?
When can that serve you and when can it not serve you? Because there are people who dwell on certain aspects and it's literally, I mean, there's the part of my mom would tell me when I was a kid, she said there was one word that would solve everything. And it was just shit. Like if you did something and it was all shit, make it better the next time and then move on. When does it serve you and when does it not serve you?
I think it doesn't serve you if you have a hard time getting out of bed. As long as you need to be careful and compartmentalize it, not let it box you.
Okay.
But if it becomes a recurring conversation in your head, like once a week, maybe a little bit too much. But if it's, I probably think about that op and some other ops and some other things that I did earlier in my life. I'm probably thinking about them like once or twice a year.
What's the unfair advantage? Take us through OODA too. What is it? It's observation. What's the second one?
Yeah, so it's observation, orient.
Okay, so orient yourself to the environment.
Yep.
Got it.
Decision. And then act.
Okay.
Yeah. And so now we'll come back to the story.
Okay, got it.
So in early in life, I was a lifeguard. Okay. So the event I'm going to talk about is not any different than the state lifeguards do when they're on the beach.
It's a lot different. And for the listeners, you're going to see that it's a lot different because this is how I would love you, man. You're a superhero. You're like, it's not that much different than flying in with a cape and saving 2 human beings and then just bolting and not taking any of the credit. But keep going, Jeff. There's 2 people alive that don't know Jeff. Like you didn't stand and have to take pictures with them. You didn't get on the news for it, any of those things. But I did get a call and I got a text and, I got this story, which was amazing. But take us through. You're on the beach. You're going for a walk.
Yep.
So what do you see?
Yeah. So I'm walking I'm actually on Carlsbad Village Drive. I come off Tamarack, Carlsbad Village Drive.
Yeah.
So right next to Vigalucci's.
Okay.
Great restaurant.
Shout out.
Yep.
Sponsorship.
Yep. Coupon. So I come around the corner and I turn right and start walking north. And I'm actually talking to my son on the phone. And I noticed there's some chaos going off to my left. And I was on the upper walkway area, because there's a upper walkway, and then down below the cliff there's a lower walkway you can walk along. And I noticed there's some chaos going on. And I hung up on the phone. I said, "Hey, I got to go." I said to my son, "I got to go." And the interesting thing is, because at this point I'm already heightened, and I followed up with my son later on. I was like, "Hey, did you know what was going on?" He's like, "No, I didn't even pick it up at all that I was heightened, but I just sensed that something was wrong."
Okay.
I walked over to the railing, looked at the lady next to me, and I go, "What's going on?" She goes, "Someone's drowning out there. Call 911. And there's another story there, but that's for another day. But so then I end up running down to the beach, ran down to the rail, looked left, looked right, trying to figure which way to go. Couldn't really see which way to go, and it was right at last light.
Okay.
So
you're in the observation process at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Very good call.
Got
Getting
it.
back. So
Got
I was observing what was going on, and so sunset is the last time when you see the sun actually go over the horizon.
Okay.
That is sunset. Last light is when there's no more light from the sun as it's setting.
Okay.
So typically 20 to 30 minutes later.
Yeah.
So, but it was about a minute before last light, maybe last light. So I run down the railing, head north, run down the stairs, kind of looking, and there's 3 groups on the beach, and there's one to the left who are really frantic, and then there was 2 other groups, and I go, and at this point, I knew someone was drowning, and I go, "Where are they?" And they in my head is singular, and they go, "There's 2 of them," and at this point, I had already taken off my shirt.
Okay.
And so
were the ladies cheering on the beach at this time when you disrobed, Jeff? Did you put baby oil on and put on the Baywatch theme and run down the Hasselhoff it?
No, but there is a picture.
Okay.
Later on,
somebody took a picture of you running in slow motion.
No, so there is a picture. So there's a picture of me standing in my underwear. Let me just get that one.
So you got down to your drawers.
Yeah. So
do you have your boots on?
No,
you took the boots off.
So I actually I had funny. I talk about this. I had another shout out. I had prana pants on, like kind of these maroon prana pants.
Okay.
And I had a
what color shirt with a maroon? I'm very perplexed on this. It's very tough because I have a maroon pair of shorts. Viore, shout out. But I don't know ever what to wear with them. What were you wearing with it? Were you matching?
It was blue.
Blue and maroon?
It was a blue shirt.
Okay.
I will wear it for you one day.
Is this a baby blue shirt? Dark blue shirt?
It's a dark blue shirt.
You colorblind?
Now I'm wondering if that's the shirt I was doing because of course. But I had but the real important shout out is I was wearing 32-degree underwear on.
Okay. All right.
Because so I take off my shirt and they say there are 2. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh crap. Because in lifeguarding, etc., you go after 1.
Yeah.
You don't go after 2.
You have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what do I do?
So you're orientating at this time, like
Yep.
you're going through the process. You're thinking like, okay, in your head though, non-emotional, are you thinking, okay, I'm going to get out there and whichever one maybe is the nicest to me, that's the one I'm bringing back?
No. And so, no, but that's actually a really good question. Like, so my first reaction is like, oh, with fantastic, like this is over my skill level.
Okay.
Like, that was my first reaction.
So I'm out. I'm not even going to go in.
No. Because I was like, I've gone too far.
Okay, you're already in your draws. If you go down to draws, you've got to go in.
Shirts off.
Shirts off.
Shirts off. So I'm already making a move.
And you're in the
And
32 degrees.
Yeah, and so then like, what am I going to put my shirt on and say, sorry, I can't go for 2?
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. So
That would be on the news, Jeff.
yeah. Wow.
That would be on the news. And then they would be like OODA, and they would say the results of it. And they would show the video of you taking off the shirt. Oh, there's two? No, I'm out. Like, I got to go home.
So I start swimming out, and at this point, it is I get to the first, and what had happened was the surf was pretty good size that day, and the rip currents I think they were standing waist deep, but anyways, rip currents had pulled them and taken them outside the surf zone.
Okay.
So they were pulled out, and I swam out. As I was swimming out, I went through the first question: what do I do when I come across two? And I didn't answer it. But I asked the question in my head. I started going through.
Is your mind calm? Because you've been through so much. How many years were you a SEAL?
I was in the Navy for 9 years.
For 9 years. So, and you've been through countless amounts of missions, things like that. So when you're going out, is your mind calm?
It gets calmer.
Are you slowing your heart rate at this time?
It gets calmer.
Really?
Yep.
You're like Jason Bourne then on the way out.
No.
No? What's the difference? I've never seen him take his shirt off and get in his underwear. I've never done it. I've never seen it. What's the difference? You and Jason Bourne. What's the difference?
One, his wallet's much bigger than mine. No, because you become laser focused.
Okay.
All the noise goes away. It just goes away. You don't think about bills. You don't think about your dog. You don't think about this. You don't think about that. You just become laser focused.
Okay.
And it becomes very clear. It becomes very clear. Like it just, like people talk about slows down. Things don't really slow down. It just, all the noise goes away. And so when all the noise goes away, things do slow down.
Okay.
And so I'm going out there and I start asking the questions in my head. What do I do with this? I'm orienting myself. As I'm orienting myself, I'm making decisions. And I'm like, okay, I don't need to make that decision yet. And so I didn't even say that. I was like, what do I do if I get two? Well, I'll figure it out. So I got to the first person, and head was above water, and so then I talked to her quickly. I grabbed her, and I put my left hand underneath her right armpit.
Okay.
So and this is actually where I'm grateful that I was a SEAL. Because I use different techniques than I would as traditionally as a lifeguard, or I'm not sure. It's still the same, but it was very natural for me because I had done it. So I'd swam with combat gear and swam with heavy loads and all this stuff lots of times before in clothes or whatever else. Sometimes you have fins, sometimes you don't. And just, so in the Navy, we were in the water at night in the dark is dark, etc. So there wasn't anything that I hadn't experienced before.
Yeah.
So it was just connecting different pieces of Legos to put together to solve the problem. So I got to the first person and grabbed her, and then I looked over to my right, and about 20 yards away was the second person. And then there was still enough light that I could see her, that I could see both of them. So I swam over to the second person and did kind of a combination of combat swimmer stroke and some different things. It's similar to side stroke, but a little bit different.
Okay.
Get to the first person, I'm like, or get to the second person, I'm like, okay, I got one hand here. I've got my legs doing egg beater to keep me up, keep this other person up, and I got this one hand. And I'm like, I have no hands left. What do I do? And I said, okay. I said, one, oh, actually, no. What I did is put your hand. I told her to put her hand, the second person, her hand on my shoulder. Cause I was like, well, I'm just gonna swim with them on my back. And I didn't even think about how I do it. I'm like, just get them so they don't go under. And then as soon as she put her hand on me, I went down. I was like, well, that didn't work. And then, so then and normally what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to release everything and clear yourself and get away.
Okay.
And then start over. But I didn't. I held on to the first person, kept her up because I wanted to make sure she stayed calm.
While you're underwater.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if someone puts their weight on you and they're trying to stay above water, as soon as you go down, they're going to release you. They're not going to keep holding on to you and keep riding you down to the bottom. Yeah. Because that's the direction where they don't want to go.
Okay.
So just naturally, when someone pushes you down, they're going to release you unless they're just really trying to wrestle you. So I kept my hand up, my left hand up, kept her up in the water. I went down, then I popped up, and I was like, okay. And I was like, well, we're going to be the little choo-choo train. I think I can. I said, okay, I'm going to hold on to you, and 2, you hold on to her. And so we literally did a daisy chain and just started swimming in. But this time it was dark, completely dark. And so, so I started swimming in, and it was like, it was slow moving. Like we were.
How far are you guys out at this time?
Took me 20 minutes to get back.
Really?
Yeah. The whole thing took me about 25 minutes.
Yeah. How many people are at the beach by this time? Had they left? Had the people left? Did they?
No.
Did they?
Crowds started to build.
Okay.
So
did they have banners like for Jeff? Had they already developed the pictures of you and your jaws? Had 32 Degrees showed up and was like, that's our guy.
So, by the way, I'm still waiting for the endorsement from them.
Well, they haven't heard the story, so now.
So I put it on LinkedIn. I think I did something. I did something on LinkedIn.
Yeah, but we gotta get the draws. Like we gotta get them.
I know I even tagged, but they don't have a social profile on LinkedIn. That's where they're falling short. Because by the way, they did miss an opportunity because I could have created quite a bit of humor out of it.
Imagine the reenactment of this. Like you remember the 80s, like the reenactments on the documentaries where they were really bad, super bad. We should do one like that. Have Matt Damon play you.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
See?
Yes.
I'm telling you, I'm connecting the dots.
Yes.
Now, take me to this because a lot of time, like with this OODA, Orient, tell me the second one.
Yeah.
No, observe, orient, decide, and then act.
Yep.
And you were able to utilize these things because in your head, it became second nature. Like when I say second nature, you worked at it. But when you go into a situation and you have that, let's say it's in business, you're applying it in business. A lot of times, as I was hearing of this woman drowning or the other woman drowning, this is a lot in business where sometimes you have the vision, but the other person is panicking because of the circumstances, and you not only have to bring them to safety, but you also have to communicate to them to be able to bring them down. How were you able to communicate? Were these ladies are freaking out at the time too?
They were actually doing pretty well.
They were okay?
Yeah, they were doing it because someone was there, someone showed up.
Were they freaking out when you got to them? Did you have to say, calm down?
No.
Nothing.
A lot of times, it's not like the movies when people are drowning.
No.
Most people aren't really freaking out as badly as I think. You'll see them floundering.
Okay.
But once you get to them, 80% of the time, they calm down pretty quickly because all of a sudden they're like,
well, if you get to them, if I would have got to them, they were like, this dude is not going to be able to bring us in for 20 minutes. Well, I mean, you're a superhero.
But part of it is the approach because when you come up to them.
What did you say? What's the first thing that you say? Because here's a person obviously in a traumatic situation. What do you say?
No idea.
Nothing.
I have no idea.
You don't remember.
I don't remember.
But you were calm.
Yeah.
So you knew the language.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's get back to it. So you're swimming them in 20 minutes. You get to the beach. What happens?
Yeah. So literally as I'm going back, and like it was a hard pull. Like it was hard. And then another guy did eventually come out, and I said to him, "You take 2. You take number 2."
Okay.
I was like, "You take her." And then
did you call her number 2?
I may have.
You did. How do you think she felt about that? You think that
I don't think
she was triggered?
I don't think
because she wasn't number 1.
I don't think she heard. I may have said her, but in my head, it is 1 and 2.
Okay.
It is absolutely 1 and 2.
All right.
So, and then as I'm swimming in, I'm thinking, I think I can. Like I literally start doing these little things, and then I'm probably 15 minutes on the way back, and I start seeing the 12 minutes on the way back, I start seeing the fire trucks come in.
Okay.
And then I think of Motorola, who we do a lot of work with, LocationTech. I think of solving for safer. And so I start laughing because I'm like, oh, I'm coming up with all these taglines, these brand lines, like solving for safer. And then I started thinking about one of our early customers, Valley View Casino and Boyd Long. Add another layer of safety. And so solving for safer. Add another layer of safety. So I started thinking of all these taglines, of all these sayings that people have said to me.
While you're swimming.
Yep. And so because I'm just kind of cracking myself up because I got to do something to keep my mind going, keep it, because I really didn't want to focus on how much it sucked. So, right when I was, touched the bottom of the water, I'd swam, we touched the bottom, and so the waves are kind of coming up and down. And so it was like a low point. My foot hit the bottom. I was like, okay, we're there. And then the bottom goes away. I was like, like, well, we're not done yet. So I kept going. And then a lifeguard came out, jumped in, because at this time, after dark, there aren't lifeguards on the beach, but there's always people on Red Reserve. So they showed up. He grabbed number one, the lady I was pulling, and I got out of the water, and I was just standing on it. I put my hands on my thighs, bent over, and I was like, oh God, that was brutal. And because I was redlining the whole time, and I didn't acknowledge I was redlining. Like I was.
How do you know when you're redlining? Like you as a person, how do you know? Because you've trained your body, you've trained your mind. There's very few people that go through the rigorous type of training, whether it be, I mean, you when you walk through that scenario, you were able to calm yourself in a very traumatic type of situation. That's because you've been through so many traumatic situations.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah. I never paid attention that I was redlining
Okay.
because I couldn't think about it. I literally couldn't, because if I thought about it, then I may have died.
What are some of the signs for you when you know that you're redlining?
When I get out of the water and I'm bending over and I can't breathe.
Okay.
and I'm like, oh, that was rough. And that's kind of my reaction. I was like, that was rough. And so anyways, they ended up, lifeguards take them. The second person ends up coming in a couple minutes later, and they're on the thing, and I kind of looked around. They were being taken care of lifeguards. I was like, okay. And I found my pants, so I put my piranha pants on, which, by the way, I will need to show you sometime.
Maroon.
Yeah, they're not quite maroon.
They're not maroon.
We'll have to determine what color.
I'm just trying to
like a
understand
rose.
maroon and blue.
They're rose.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to.
But they work together.
Yes, but I will have to bring them and show you sometime.
Okay.
I should have worn them today.
Yeah. I'm glad that you didn't come in your drawers today. I'm glad. It would have been good for 32 degrees or whatever it is, but it wouldn't have been good for me. It would have been a tough time. I don't know that we would have been able to sit across from each other. I would have put you in the other room, and we could have. But talk to me like this resilience part, because this is a part that. It was tough. I had a conversation with my daughter yesterday. She called me and she was really upset. She's a very empathetic young lady.
Mm-hmm.
She had a friend who, a boy was going to ask her to homecoming. See how the transition goes? I go from Navy SEAL saving lives to homecoming.
It's actually not a stretch.
Okay, so this kid is going to ask the girl to homecoming, but she's already been asked, and this is not the boy that she really likes. So this kid's going to get embarrassed. And my daughter, being the empathetic spirit that she is, calls me and she's like, I'm so upset because this kid is going to get destroyed. He's going to get demolished if he asks her in public to go, because he's got a sign, he's got flowers, the whole nine.
Oof.
And what I said to her, I said, as I'm speaking just from the man standpoint. I said, as a man, sometimes we need to go through those things to create resilience. So don't stop him from experiencing pain. The reason why I say that is because sometimes people try and avert pain as much as possible, where that pain that you went through earlier on saved you to be able to come and have resilience. How do you connect those two?
I don't know how to answer that.
I mean, think about the pain. Like, okay, take me to Bud's. Okay.
Yeah.
Take me to Bud's. You get your hands clasped, your feet clasped, they drop you in a pool, right? I mean, right?
Yep.
You have to work that out.
Right.
That's a lot different than you swimming out and swimming back with two people. Am I correct?
Sure. But it's the building blocks.
Got it.
So maybe that question's not so hard after all. It's so we haven't talked about this. I don't think we've ever really talked about this part.
Well, let's talk about it.
So you learn language and then learn the process.
Okay.
So so when you're doing drown proofing, I think is what it's called. I should remember that. Drown proof, when they tie your hands behind your back and they tie your feet together and you jump in. That's a step to being uncomfortable in the water,
Okay.
and you're really learning how do you be calm. It's like, how do you be calm?
How do you get to the top?
Well, there's different drills you do. There's different things in that. One part of it is you bob up and down, so you're in a 9-foot pull. So you go up and down, you hitch the bottom,
Okay.
you come up, take a breath, come down. So, and you do that for a couple minutes, and then then you transition, and then you actually have to swim. I think it's 100 yards or 50 yards.
With your hands tied behind your back?
Yep, and your thing, and basically you just
So you're just flipping like you're
you do a dolphin.
a dolphin. Okay.
You do it like a dolphin kick. So it's
Did you train before you went to Buds? Like, did you get ready for Buds? Because I've heard of people that I've had friends that have a trainer that trains them to be able to get ready for Buds. Is that more new school or is that old school?
No, I think it's always been done. I mean, sure, I trained for Buds, but I had an unfair advantage.
What was your unfair advantage?
I swam competitively.
Ooh.
So as a 12-year-old, I was ranked number 1 in the nation in swimming. So I knew how to swim.
Okay.
So when I was 14, I was ranked again, and then
What strokes did you do?
50 free, 100 free, and 100 butterfly were the strokes I was ranked in.
So again, all these things are building blocks building up. Is there any way, because people talk about this too, where they, let's collapse time or circumvent the work and get these little hacks. And then that way you can speed up the process. Is there any way to be able to speed up the resilience process?
No, I don't think so. Because it's a hack. So when you get to, there's, and people hear that around me enough will hear me like, oh, to say the alphabet, there's 26 letters. To say it right, you have to get those letters in the right order. And if you miss any letter or you say it in the wrong order, you didn't say the alphabet right. So a hack might be, well, I can say A to Z, that's the alphabet. No, you missed the 24 other steps in there. So the hack is A to Z. I just said the alphabet. But you've just shortchanged it. So now when you really have to tear it apart and look at the pieces, you don't know how the pieces go together. And that's one thing that, and it's not just the SEALs. Like when I was, prior to the SEALs, I was originally I was a surface warfare officer. So I was on the battleship New Jersey, great ship. Like it's old school ship, etc. But it doesn't matter if you're, and I used to do void clearances because it was a double hull. It was the hull of the ship was double walled.
Okay.
And so in between the walls, there was voids, meaning there was open space that were closed up. And every so often people would have to go in and go in those things. And so before someone went in, someone had to clear the void or check to make sure that there wasn't toxic air in there.
Okay.
And so one of my jobs was to go in and clear the void. And so
how do you check for toxic air?
There's a kit dragger, which is also happens to be the same company. I think it's the same company that actually makes the rebreathers that the SEALs use. Okay. And so you go in there and you stick the device in the space and you check it and you make sure it's has proper oxygen, et cetera, and doesn't have any toxic gas in there.
How tight are the quarters when you're clearing these voids?
They're pretty tight. But it's enough that you can stick your head in there and stick your arm in there, and you could probably squeeze in there.
Okay.
But for most time, I didn't have to actually go into the void. I needed to make sure the space was clear. Okay. But it was a process to make sure, because if someone was going to go and do welding, you needed to make sure you knew what was in there. You needed to make sure that there wasn't explosive gas in there or anything else. But that's a process. And so you could say, oh, yeah, I went in, threw it in there and checked it and it was good to go. Well, did you do all 26 steps? If it was 26 steps, whatever. But did you do all the letters of the alphabet? Because if you skip 5 of them, you may have skipped the part that's going to kill the guy who's actually going in and do the work. And so when people talk about hacks, okay, if you need to do that to quickly get through something, but if you don't fundamentally understand, you might want to go back and learn the other 5 steps that you're missing so that you can go back and repeat it. So we talked about when I was pulling the people out of the water, there were some mistakes or things I probably could have, not mistakes, things I probably could have done better.
Do you think this comes from the conversation you had with Admiral
McRaven?
McRaven? Did you go through that process when you got out of the water? I mean, I know you weren't at the green table, but it was
No, I was actually really mad.
you were really mad when you got out of the water.
I was mad when I got out of the water.
Why?
So when I walked away, I was mad.
At yourself?
No. No, I was mad at everyone else because I was not the first on the scene. I'm in my late 50s, and why am I the one who's having to jump in the water?
Ooh.
I was like, what the heck is wrong? Why was there not someone else out there trying to do something? Why was everyone freezing? Why was everyone just screaming and not orienting themselves and making a decision and acting? Why did the person not call 911? Why did the person who said, I'm not from here? I don't care if you're not from here. Call 911. Like, there was just a lot of things as I was going through the process, as I was going through these things that people just failed to do. So I was pretty frustrated with it. And a little bit of context, my dad had passed away 4 days earlier. So I think that was going on inside me. I was just kind of frustrated, and frustrated that I was in my late 50s doing this, et cetera. And then, yes, actually a lot's happened since we last spoke as I think about this.
So take me to that though, too, because I think that this is where like elite leaders like yourself, they go through it a lot because in your head, we go into a situation. I actually saw you do OODA when you walked in the studio. I saw you. I saw it. You observed everything that was going on. Right. My second one is we observe and then we
Orient.
And you oriented yourself all the way through. You walked in, you looked at this, you said, was this a room? What was it? You started orientating yourself to all the stuff that was on the shelves. You made a decision, and then you acted. I've said, hey, Jeff, I'm going to be right back. I saw you do this. This is not a normal practice for people. So when you're an elite leader, how do you manage not getting frustrated at people who don't apply the type of strict thought process and mentality that you have?
Everyone's different. Everyone is different. And actually you just helped me walk right into, I need to give you some fees or something for this one, of why LocationTech is who it is. So we are really a software company that uses hardware. And so what we do at LocationTech is if someone needs assistance, they push a button that they're wearing, and then whoever's supposed to respond will come to them. And so
if these two ladies out in the water would have had LocationTech on, they would have just hit the button.
Yes.
And then bang, bang.
Yes.
Is it waterproof?
One of our devices is, it's splash proof.
Okay.
So the great thing about our software is we can use many different devices. So we have devices that are just wearables, that are just like a pendant. And then we have others so we also work on Motorola radios. So the little orange button on the Motorola radio, you push that. If it's configured with our software, you configure it, it'll orient you. And we do it inside buildings.
But why did you choose the hospitality? This was interesting to me because I believe that the hospitality industry needs to be as disciplined as, like, I used to joke and say, being in the hospitality industry for years and personal service and things like that, I always used to joke and say that we were very much like Navy SEALs, and people would laugh, and it was just a joke to kind of loosen them up. But I think that you have to have a mentality on a different level to be able to create a high level hospitality experience. But why did you choose the hospitality industry to focus on? Yeah.
So hospitality was really just kind of where we took our beachhead.
Really?
It was, if you...
Beachhead, come on, tell me.
Yeah.
Walk me into it.
So invasion of Normandy.
Got it.
They didn't spread the resources across a bunch of different beaches. They just threw everyone onto one part of the beach and just overwhelming. It's actually,
because they observed what the environment was.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's actually It's a little bit kind of what's happening.
They orientated themselves to the country. They decided where they were going to go, and then they acted.
And they just shoved tons and tons and tons of resource at it so they just made a laser focused hit.
Okay. So when you came out of the Navy SEALs, right? When you come out of the Navy and you're thinking to create your company, what did you observe? Like, take us through that part, because a lot of people don't get the opportunity to go into an entrepreneur's mind. And why?
Yeah. So this was actually not my first venture. So I've actually started probably 8 or 9 different business units.
Yeah.
Some internally, within companies, and some externally. There was a portion where I was at a market agency, and where we'd set up consumer engagement teams, which is a fancy word for demo cart. Do you ever shop at Costco?
Yeah.
You ever get a sample at a cart?
Of course. That's how I take my wife on a date.
Right.
Like, she's like, oh, I don't know what I want to have to eat for dinner. I'm like, we're going to Costco and we're getting samples. That's our date.
Right. Perfect.
When you've been married 17 years, I tell you, that is a good date too.
Yes.
It's like the 4 seasons.
Maybe better.
Yes, it could. Well, I don't know. Maybe.
So, which I remember when I first started doing that job, we were about 400 million in revenue.
Okay.
So, believe it or not, that business of someone at the demo cart, because we not only did it for Costco, but we did it for other retailers around the world. We started, we were 400 million, and when I left 10 years later, we were 1.2 billion. And so,
hold on. Say it slower.
So we
say it with your chest.
Yeah. So we were 400 million in revenue.
Got it.
And when I left 10 years later, we had grown it to 1.2 billion.
So you had 3 times the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so during that venture, I had either started business units or taken business units that were kind of struggling and got them to work. And what does work mean? It means make it profitable. Because if something's not profitable, you need to shut it down. And so I had business units as part of a joint venture in Japan with Aeon, the largest retailer in Japan. We also did work with Lotte, which was a big retailer in South Korea. Also did work with a retailer in South Africa, Pick and Pay. Also did retailer in Panama. Before I left, we started doing work in Portugal. And then we had a couple of units that I was accountable for in Michigan, or in Meyer in Michigan, and Giant Eagle in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we had some other ones. And so it was starting these business units, and I eventually had about 5,500 people, so 5,500 people working for me in these different teams. And so how would you manage different teams? So I wasn't managing 5,500 people. I was managing 3 or 4 leaders, and then you get them to run their teams. And so you can't micromanage, because you're gonna be pretty ineffective. And so, but it's understanding the process and how do you do this. But I'd done this now 8 times of starting these things. So I did the same structure, same idea, but how do you do it in Japan? How do you do it in South Korea? Culturally different. How do you do it in the US? Culturally different.
All different languages.
Yep. No, literally.
Yeah. So
I'd go to board meetings in Japan, and there'd be an interpreter there with me. And so they'd speak in Japanese and I'd speak in English, and they most of the time knew what I was saying, and they wouldn't convey it because they understood English well enough, to understand it, but not speak it. Korea, they all spoke English. The leaders spoke English. So, but I was still working that they were working in their second language. South Africa, they speak English. And so, but so that wasn't, I had done 2 startups prior to that, software companies.
Yeah.
Then did this for 10 years, and then did a food and beverage packaging company. And then most of the companies I get kind of pulled into, like, hey, help solve a problem.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of work my way up. And
so when you're thinking business, what is the observation? Like, what are the top observations? Like, when I said that, I was talking with a lady the other day, and I used to, a lot of the employees that we had, they would start out at a lot of times 19 years old, whatever it was. We would go to a convention, and I remember taking a lot of people to a convention and saying, what I want you to do is I want you to observe.
Mhm.
I want you to observe that person. Okay. Tell me what you see. And they'd be like, oh man, their hair looks great. Their makeup looks great. And they would always miss the shoes. They would always miss
I-
the shoes. And for me, it was a big tell, right? I would always look at the shoes because I could tell a lot about it. And then what for me, observation as far as business is most of the time I go into the bathroom. And when I go into the bathroom and I see the way that the bathroom is cared for,
Mhm.
it's the actual character of the company as opposed to the shiny stuff that's out front. When you're looking at business, what are you observing first? Let's look at that part of it. Like when you're looking at it and you're saying, I either want to start the business, I want to work with the business, or I can grow the business. What's the first couple of things that you're looking at that you're observing?
Yeah. Do they solve a problem
Okay.
that is an addressable market? So I'll focus on LocationTech.
Yeah.
So
Take us through that. So you're looking. Now, where did you first start to observe that
yes.
that need?
So LocationTech actually started from a company called Tech.
Okay.
So I had been brought in to help with the company. They ran out of funds. They were shutting down. And I looked at the team that was there. And I've worked with some pretty qualified people in the SEALs. So McRaven, my point man, ended up being one of the lead snipers for the Captain Phillips hostage rescue. So, and he did lots of other things, but another guy in my platoon was while Queen Elizabeth was still alive, used to receive a birthday card from her every year. When he went to Buckingham Palace and went for a walk with her, and she told her security detail that she was fine, and the two of them just walked along. So I mean, this is not about me, but these are the people that I was next to. So Admiral McRaven, when he was a commander, my point man, my first lieutenant, et cetera. And these were just some of the people that I worked with. Really. So in the SEALs, some were better than me and I was better than some. So middle of the pack. Like, so I'm not, I just worked, the point is I worked with some really qualified people.
Yeah.
Very capable, went on to do some amazing things later in life. Even when we were together, we did amazing things, but they continue to do amazing things. Their fingerprints are over a lot of stuff. And so, but I looked at the team that was at Tech, and I was like, oh, I have never worked with a group of people where every one of them is better than me in their respective roles, better than me in my respective role. Never. I would never have this chance to recreate this again. And they're all former wireless folks that spent a majority of their careers at Qualcomm, 25 years. Like they were really good. They'd bring ideas from ideation all the way to market launch and put in. And it's like, you'll still hear stories about them years after they left that some of the executives would say, hey, too bad we did not think about this earlier. And someone from the group would go, oh no, we did. Here it is. And so our current system has been built out that we can do stuff pretty quickly, like not in months or years. We can do stuff in weeks. So Motorola comes and asks us, and other companies are asking us, like, hey, can you add this device to it? We're like, does it have an open API? Yes. Great. We can do it in 2 weeks. So we actually had a requirement for someone who, park ranger, and they said, hey, they want to be able to push a trigger device when they need help. I'm like, okay, great. Are they always going to be in a building? Well, no. And I said, well, where is there always cell service? Well, no. Like, okay. So I went to my old contacts and did work with a satellite company, satellite trigger device. So now we have a device that the park ranger in the shack can push the button and we'll know they are. They can walk to the middle of the forest, push the button, and we'll know they are. Because this one device we have operates on Wi-Fi or cellular or satellite. And these Wi-Fi, the difference between Wi-Fi, cellular, and satellite is just the frequency it's on.
Okay.
And so I use the analogy of when you were a kid, the 2 tin cans.
Yeah.
And you pull it tight, you can hear each other.
Uh-huh.
The frequency is just the string. So you need to make sure the device on the left and the device on the right operates on the same string. So the frequency is just a string type. Wi-Fi is just a string. Cellular is just a different string type. Satellite communications, just a different string type, different frequency for how it operates. And so we've been able to use that analogy to say, oh, you're going to use this string or this frequency? Got it. We know how to pair it and take it into our system. And so that device in particular, we had it tested and brought online within 2 weeks for a satellite device. And we still have a little bit more work to do because the customer hasn't decided if they're going to move forward, but we've got it all the way to proof of concept. Like, yep, it works. We now, and it's really just getting the end device, the trigger device, to function. So you went back to the question about the two girls, if they'd had the panic buttons, if they'd had a button, if there's a waterproof button out there, we can make it work. We can have it connect to our system. And so, but back to the question about the team, this team, so head of software, head of system architecture, head of product, and the head of Q&A, they're all very, very good at what they do. Very good at what they do. But I just flew back yesterday from an install because we're doing some new stuff with Motorola. Like we've been working with Motorola now for about 3 years, and we were doing this new product, and it was a pretty high priority opportunity. It was can't say too much more about it, but anyways. So I was there, but I walked to the building, and it's a building that's being refurbished, et cetera. But I did exactly what you talked about. I walked in and I started orienting myself.
Yeah.
I go, because if I was a responder, how would I move to this building?
Will this ultimately be, I mean, as I'm thinking about it, will this ultimately be on something that would be on every cell phone?
Yeah. So, well, you could have a mobile app. And so Motorola does have a mobile app.
Well, ultimately, I mean, I would think, I would love to be able to, we have little things. Is there any competition to LocationTech?
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots.
There's lots.
Yep.
Okay.
And that was one. So
did you observe that before you started?
No. I think I wasn't naive. But what I did first to validate was it even a good idea?
Yeah.
Was I looked at market research.
Okay.
Does the market research tell me this is a real market?
Got it.
So Gartner was one of the places I went. Shout out for Gartner.
Okay.
And in 2021, it was a $1.9 billion business.
Okay.
Pretty big.
Yeah.
But in 2030, it's a $55 billion business.
How is AI playing a role in this? Because when you started LocationTech 10 years ago, am I correct?
About five.
About 5 years ago. So, okay. So in 2020, we weren't even talking about AI. We weren't talking about the, being able to write code quickly, all those things. How have you been able to utilize it and continue to adapt? And also, sometimes when people are steeped in a certain education side, and I'm finding this because I just turned 50 and I have a lot of get off my lawn mentality with kids, especially with music and things like that. I'm like, oh no, this is the way it used to be. And I'm finding myself though, where people who adapt quickly, right? Doesn't mean that they don't, you still have to observe, you still have to orient, you still have to decide and act. But now we're in a light speed kind of situation. How do you continue to apply old school thought process and mentality with new school tools with AI?
Actually, I think you just, I'm going to actually have to change my earlier answer.
Okay.
AI is a hack. It helps you get to A to Z without doing the steps in between. Like you can understand this, you can understand the 26 steps.
Okay.
But you enter the information in.
Yeah.
And then you get an answer that gets you to why. And then you just have to fine tune the final two pieces. How do you
continue to motivate people to fall in love with that as opposed to be fearful? Because I think that there's a lot larger portion of the community that is afraid of AI because they think it's going to take a job, it's going to replace humans, all these things. And then there's the smaller percentage that's saying, no, it can actually give you your time back. It can give you your time back with your family. It can give you your time back with your friends. It can make your business more efficient, which when it's more efficient, you were talking about profit earlier,
Yep.
right? So, but how do you get that message across? Because let's take it back to when you're in the SEALs in your platoon. Your commander doesn't have to spend a lot of time telling you that you're going on the mission. You're going on the mission. Am I correct? Like when there's a mission, it's not like. But when you're in civilian side, you're dealing with emotional side. You're dealing with backgrounds. You're dealing with, my dad didn't hug me enough, so I'm not going to move that quickly. You got to tell me 15,000 reasons why. How do you deal?
Yeah, so I think that's the superpower of LocationTech.
Hmm.
Like often I'm following the others. Like I may be the CEO. That doesn't mean I'm any better than anyone else. Like absolutely not. Like I'm just the guy when a final decision needs to be made and we're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
It says, hey, let's move this. Let's go this way. And when you start moving that way, maybe you move the wrong way. And if you do, well, you reorient yourself, you observe, you orient yourself, make a decision and act and change the direction. And so one of the things in the SEALs that was really helpful. So early on when you're taught how to shoot, you do some drills, but let's go back into like even the final step. When you're going and doing room clearances, you're doing hostage rescue, you're going into a building and you're finding bad guys or you're finding a good person or something. You're just trying to get through a building assault. You don't start running through a building and shooting. You go through steps to get there. And so you learn how to shoot. And then you start doing shooting drills outside, and we'll do just basic land warfare. But one of the things that for the officer or whoever the person who was in charge of the squad or the thing, he should not be shooting, because if you're shooting, you're not observing. When you're shooting, you are focused on where's my bullet going. And so if you're on a patrol with 8 guys or 16 or something, and something like you have contact, you may put some initial shots down range, but you quickly want to start looking around. Where do we go? How do we get out of here? And if there's 8 of you, the other 7 are putting the suppressant fire down.
I never heard that before.
Yeah.
Because most of the time you think that as a CEO or as an owner or whatever it is, you need to be taking the shots. But what you just said is those are the people, those are the people that shouldn't be. Those are the people that should be observing. They should be orientating themselves. They should be deciding. Is there ever this is a tough one, say in business, right? Or just in life. Is there ever really a bad decision then? Because outside of indecision, right? Is there?
Well, yeah, there's lots of bad decisions. So, but a lot of times you don't know until afterwards.
Got it.
And so then you orient yourself. So,
and then you learn from it and you grow from it.
Yeah,
Obviously,
right,
I mean,
right. No, and you keep improving. So back to the analogy or the things like you don't go into a kill house or you don't go into shooting up buildings until you've done it as a team. And so we'd go through these dry runs. And so the training cells, if the officer or whoever was in charge of the platoon or the squad would start shooting, they would actually take his gun away and give him a 2x4 and said, you're going to run around with 2x4 until you stop shooting. And you just learn your role is not to shoot. And that's part of the thing is when you take a step back, you take a step back. It sounds like it was a punishment. It was just removing the stimulant or whatever else, the action you wanted to do so that you focused on your role. As the person in charge of the platoon or the squad or the task unit, your role is not really to shoot. And if you're shooting, but of course, if you need to shoot, you got to shoot. But then you want to kind of roll out. And
how long would it take you when you guys would go through drills when you're training? How long would it take you to be competent to be on the field of battle, or do you know?
I don't think you ever really know. You don't ever really know until it happens. And
Okay.
so,
And so how you guys have, and I never really connected this, but I'm connecting it as you're talking is, I never realized how much grace that in special operations you have to have with yourself, because you're making a decision, not knowing if it's 100%, but it's better for you to make a decision and move forward than it is for you to just stand it, because that's
oh,
going to get somebody hurt.
killed.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't love that you just said that, but I like it a lot because you put a different spin on it. Where do you tap into that grace? Because you have to have a ton of grace with yourself, and you have to have a ton of grace with the situations, and you have to be able to hit and move, although you're still observing, you're still, orientating yourself. And because when I think back to what you first said with McRaven, that thing, I almost think of like a little McRaven on your shoulder. That's like, hey, Jeff, you made that decision because you make it better. I didn't think of it as a negative. I thought of it as a positive. And like, so where do you tap into the grace part? Because if you just have McRaven on your shoulder and then he gets a little bit bigger and he's yelling in your ear, and you don't have the other side of saying, Jeff, it's cool, make it better the next time. Don't stay.
Yeah. I think that's a battle that everyone fights, and you just have to balance it. So, I've always lived, and I started this early on, and you'll hear people talk about this, and I think Jeff Bezos has said this, but I've said this for a long time. When I heard Bezos, I was like, oh, he stole my line. But I've always said when I'm 85 and I will look back, I want to say I have no regrets in life.
Okay.
And so that doesn't mean.
Do you regret anything now?
Yeah, that actually leads me right to the next point. So,
you know what I regret is drinking hot tea when we first started the podcast, because it made me sweat, man. Like, have you ever just drank hot tea I was just drinking because I wanted to make sure my throat sound good on the mic.
Well, you always sound good.
And I drank the hot tea, and I happen to have a beanie on, and my beanie doesn't let the heat out of my head. What I'm observing right now is that I should not have done that. I orientated myself to the type of scenario of hot drinks, and I'm making a decision that I'm not going to do that again, and I'm acting on that.
Yes.
Yes.
It's so learn the language, learn the process, and adjust the process, so you don't do it again. And if it works, it works. So 85, no regrets. So January 24th.
Hot drink.
January 24th of 2025.
January 24th. So we're talking 8 months ago.
Yep. So
9 months ago. 10 months.
I was laying in a hospital bed and I thought I was going to die.
I remember we were scheduled for a podcast.
Yes.
And you called me. You were like, and you were very calm though. You were like, hey, I'm going to need to reschedule. No big deal. And then I called you later on and you were like, it was a heart thing.
Yep. So, yeah. So,
was it a heart attack?
I had a heart attack, which, by the way,
were you by yourself?
Yeah. So, no. Okay. So,
yes or no?
This is
Jeff?
actually.
Were you by yourself? Were you by yourself, or were you?
I had a heart attack 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah, but were you with people?
I didn't know I had a heart attack.
Yeah, but when you had the heart attack 2 weeks earlier, were you with anyone?
I don't know. So this is the part. So I had what is not atypical for a guy. Okay. So men usually have like arm pain, heavy chest pain, etc.
Yeah.
I had what's more traditionally a female heart attack. So because I think this, and by the way, this is not a public. I'm not a doctor, so don't. But a lot. I
love it because on social media though, if you use like neuro pathways, you use that word, people are like, oh my gosh. Like I was watching the other day, and I was listening to a normal influencer or whatever it is, like if you want to call it that. And they're known for stuff that is ridiculous. And they were talking about how your neural pathways are and these. And I was like, why the hell would somebody listen to you about that part when you're the, TikTok dancer girl? But keep going.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Okay. But you're not a doctor, but you went through a heart attack and you stayed at a Holiday Inn Express.
You stole the lines. I hope you get
I'm telling
free night from Holiday
That's
Inn.
what I'm in. I'm in for.
IHG. I hope you heard that.
Yeah, Holiday Inn Express. I stayed there, so
Yep.
I'm
IHG,
qualified.
who's headquartered out of Atlanta, Georgia. So they should be. I hope they're on.
There we go. Do they have LocationTech yet?
Some do.
Okay. Well, all of them need to. You hearing me?
Yes.
You hearing me out there?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Atlanta, Georgia. Who's the guy? Who's the decision maker there?
There's
What's
a
his name?
couple people.
Okay.
So,
Name them. What's their names?
We'll have to get to that later.
Okay.
So
We'll just tag 'em.
There's a committee.
Okay.
So
How many are in the committee?
I've met 4 or 5 of them.
I'm observing how many people are in there. I'm orientating myself to the situation. I'm going to decide that we're going to go to Atlanta,
Yes.
and then we're going to take action to get LocationTech in all of them. That's what I'm talking about, Jeff.
Yeah.
So back to the heart attack.
Yeah. So I had so somewhere between, I was at an installation with Motorola again because it was a school system we were doing. It was we were doing some new things with Motorola.
Yeah.
And Louisiana, I was having gator bites. I never had gator bites.
Yeah.
So
They got to be cooked right, though. Have you ever had
Mm-hmm.
like stuff that's not cooked? It's like rubber.
No.
Gator bites are cool though.
I've only had one.
It tastes
I've
like
only had
chicken.
once. Yes.
Yeah, it's the way it's
By the way,
seasoned.
that was the joke also.
Yeah.
Or the comment.
Okay.
Tastes like chicken.
Yeah.
So I somewhere, and that was like on a Thursday, flew back Friday, and then I'm surfing blacks on Saturday,
How big was it?
double overhead.
Really? So
Yeah.
that's for a normal non-surfer. How big is that?
The faces were about 10 to 12 feet.
Good Lord.
So, and I surf on a stand-up paddleboard. So
You surf on a stand-up paddleboard on 10 to 12 foot waves.
Yeah. as opposed to paddling in.
Do you
on
wear a
prone.
cape?
No, I wear a wetsuit.
Oh, I thought you were just.
I wear a Mateus wetsuit.
Mateus. Okay.
Mateus, actually,
Alright.
I really like Mateus wetsuits. So shout out to Mateus.
Okay.
And so
Kind of board where you got the Costco board?
no, I
You don't got the
ride
Costco?
Infinity.
Infinity. Does it say
stand-up
paddle
paddleboards.
too? Infinity paddle?
Oh, what the heck's name?
Come on, man.
Black Project.
We're becoming influencers here, Jeff.
Black Project.
Okay.
So
Got it. So we're on a 12-foot wave.
yeah. So and we were on a couple waves, and I paddled out with one of my buddies, and I said, I'm just not recovering. So somewhere between gator bites and me paddling out next to my buddy Alex and saying I'm just not recovering right, I had the heart attack. And I'd already hiked down the trail
Yeah, that trail is treacherous.
with a 30-pound board, paddle in my wetsuit. So I'd already, and then so I was like, I just don't feel right. So I ended up like holding my breath. Okay, I can hold my breath fine. I did some box breathing just to try and calm myself. Like, is it a calming thing? I just kind of went through all these different drills. I was like, I can hold my breath fine.
Yeah.
Box breathing, not really changing. And if I close my eyes really, I was like, I just don't feel right. So then I went to the work week, and then next Saturday, I didn't feel like surfing, so I was just kind of feeling off. I went out and I met some friends later in the day on Saturday, and I was like, yeah, sorry, I just didn't feel right. And I didn't, like, it was kind of off. I was like, it was almost like I just fell off. And then I went Saturday and went down again, big waves. Like, it was big. It was, again, it wasn't quite as big, but it was almost 8-10 feet. And
that is massive. 8 or 10 is, I mean, that's like for a non-surfer. I mean, that's.
You get destroyed. But I learned the process.
You observed.
Yeah, so I learned
You
the process.
orientated yourself to the waves.
Correct.
You've decided that you're going.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
you have the.
Yeah. So I'm out there and I'm like, I just don't feel right. So then we paddle back and get to the car, and I talk to some of the friends, and they go, I just don't feel right. And they go, well, kind of talked it through. I was like,
Are these former Navy SEALs too?
No,
Do you
no.
hang out with Navy SEALs that are former Navy SEALs?
some?
Some.
So
Do you guys give each other a hard time? Like, oh, you're being a little bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like when you maybe you chip your tooth, and they're like, come on, man. Like
actually, no.
they don't.
No.
They're very gracious with you.
Yeah. No. Because it's kind of like.
It's not like my friends. My friends give me a hard time about everything.
Because everyone's already kind of proven themselves.
Okay.
So it's kind of like you tease each other about something else.
Ah,
Like there's always something. And the humor's pretty dark.
okay.
So pretty dark humor and it's fun. And
So no Navy SEAls. You come off. They say, "What are
this-
they saying? Go to the hospital." Did they say that
No,
to
they're
you?
kind like they're all kind of observing,
Okay.
and I'm like, I just don't quite feel. Anyway, so like, well, maybe go. Anyways, we kind of talked out. I was like, I'm fine. But then I end up getting a sty in my eye, which I've never had a sty.
You've never had a sty?
Never.
Did you rub gold on it?
Silver.
Did you? My mom, see, these are these true? My mom always would take her ring and rub her ring
really?
on my eye when I had a sty.
Oh.
Yeah. You did silver?
I'm kidding. I've never.
You never did?
I just looked at it and go.
It's got to be 917 silver because don't get that Tijuana silver. You know
correct,
what I'm saying?
Correct.
That green finger
Yes.
silver.
Yes.
But my mom, I don't know if did your mom ever do the gold thing?
No.
Never?
No.
Did she do a hot compress?
Yes.
Why do they call it a compress? It's a damn towel.
I don't know.
It's a towel.
By the way, that's exactly what I did. So I had this sty in my eye. I was like, I've never had one. So I put the hot compress on it. Hot towel. Sorry.
It is.
It's a towel.
It
Hot
is.
You're
But
right.
it sounds so much better. Like, I'm going to give you a hot compress. That's how you charge more for it.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Packaging.
Correct. Yes. Branding.
Mm.
So, so I end up calling, and I'm calling. So I get my medical care through the VA. And by the way, the VA saved my life.
Hey, I want to be big shout out to the VA. They saved my dad. My pops got treatment there. Like, it was unreal the way that they treated him throughout his life. He since passed away, but I mean, it was unbelievable. So the VA, big shout out.
Oh, saved my life.
Yeah.
So, because I had switched, I was on Covered California and I'd lost my coverage and I was going back to Covered California to get new.
You lost your coverage?
Well,
You served our country, man.
no,
at the
no,
highest
no.
level.
So I was getting, I had regular coverage through my employer,
Got it.
et cetera. And then I tried to get to Covered California, do some things. And then and they said, oh no, you qualify through the VA. So I was like, oh, okay.
Boom.
Which I didn't know I qualified. If I'd paid attention, I probably would realize because I was just I'd been consistent. I liked my doctor, so I just stayed with him for 1,000 years.
Okay.
But anyway, so I called up. I called to get an appointment, and VA is like a PPO or no HMO. Like you call up your primary care, and then
They go through the thing.
dial you out. So, I call up and say, hey, I'd like to schedule an appointment. Like I'm not quite feeling right. And so the appointment was on Monday. The appointment was going to be Thursday, but I think I said, yeah, I have slight chest pain. Cause if I really got calm and I paid attention, I was like, I felt some on a scale of 1 to 10, like maybe a 2.
Okay.
But to not sound too wimpy, I'd say maybe a 3, 2 to 3. Cause I didn't want to be.
Is a 2 to 3 on your scale though, being what you've gone through in your life? Is that like a 9 to me?
I have no idea.
I would venture to say it is. You calmed yourself while swimming out to drowning people and you were thinking about all the decisions you were going to make. I wouldn't be thinking about any of those things. I'd be like, I'm cold. I don't know if I got it. I'm going to swim halfway out. You know what I'm saying?
So
I'm going to be yelling for people, come and help me.
But the focus I talked about earlier, everything goes away. Like I didn't think that the water was 62. Like I didn't even notice.
But when does it not serve you? Because a lot of times, because your resilience, because your strength, because you can calm yourself, a lot of times ailments like that, you don't take as serious. Does that?
Yeah. So
does that resonate with you?
Yeah. Sometimes, yes. So, I mean, I think everyone has aches and pains.
Okay.
And you just got to go get it worked on.
Yeah.
So,
and you got to rub some dirt on it and you got to go. Because if you're on the battlefield, if you're on, you're on the battlefield and you're like, oh, my toe, I got an ingrown toenail. Yeah.
Well, I think if you're at a customer's location.
Okay.
And we're doing something.
Like, yeah. But when does it not serve you? Like my brother said to me one time that my greatest strength is my biggest weakness, meaning that when you have resilience and you don't quit, sometimes you stay in the ring too long and take too much of a beating.
Yep. 100%.
Does that resonate with you too?
Yep. 100%.
How do you know the difference? How do you know when to stop?
Hindsight. Ooh.
I want to start a company called Hindsight. So what we'll do is we'll come in, we'll be a consulting company, and we'll observe all the mistakes that you made. And in hindsight, we'll just tell you, like,
Right.
this is what you need to do.
Right. No, that is what consultant is.
Maybe we should do that.
S- Yeah.
You can invest early, Jeff.
So back to the that actually is a good idea. That actually
It's
is
just
a good. That is a good
hindsight
brand.
consulting.
That actually is a because like the joke about consultants is they take your watch and tell you what time it is.
There we go.
And so that's really what hindsight is. You take the pieces, you observe, you orient. So
Decide and act.
yeah, and that OODA loop is really around quick decisions we need to make it, but it really applies to slower decisions too. Like
Does it apply? Like when you have things like that, that's ingrained. This is not and that's the cool thing with you is when I saw it, when you sent it over to me, and I said OODA, and I was like, okay, OODA. But I think the cool thing with you is it's not a placard on the wall like most companies' cultures are.
Mm.
It's actually what you do. It's ingrained in you. But when that is ingrained, is there times when it doesn't serve you, say with personal relationships? Because if you go into that type of rundown, sometimes in personal relationships, or does it serve you all the time?
no, of course it doesn't serve you all the time. I think
When does it not serve you?
you're never going to get everything right.
Okay.
Like you're just never.
Yeah.
And so
That's what we believe at Hindsight Consulting.
correct.
Boom.
Correct. But what you do is you reflect on it
That's our
and,
tagline.
and improve the process.
So we reflect and improve.
Right.
Come to us. Tell us your challenges. We will
Right.
first publicly shame you. We will reflect on
Right.
those things, and we will help you never to make those mistakes again.
Right.
That's why you should choose
Right.
Hindsight Consulting.
And that's actually, so when I think about I talk about the story with McRaven, and I don't think actually I probably think about it now once every 3 years.
Okay.
But it's the reflection on that.
Yeah.
And because I did have someone come up to me about 15 years later, say, "Thank you for making that decision."
So in the decision that you made during that with the McRaven, were you wrong?
It's up for debate.
Okay. Were you told that you were wrong?
I was told I should have done something differently.
Got it. Do you believe that?
The validation came 15 years later
That you made the right decision?
because the guy said if we had gone, I would have died. So, and it wasn't so, and I was
How quickly did you have to make the decision?
so I'd gotten. I really don't want to go into too much details, but
Okay.
I'd gotten feedback from my point man,
Yeah.
the guy from was one of the shooters at Captain Phillips.
Got
So and another gentleman, and they both we made a plan, and we said here's the parameters of the plan, and if it's within this criteria, we go. And
You observed, you orientated,
yep.
you decided.
And so if it's over that limit, you don't go.
Got it.
And or if it's out of bounds, you don't go. It's just like when you parachute, you don't parachute over a certain amount of wind or rough seas. You don't do a certain amount of things. You don't, just lots of different things like that. You have kind of these limits. So we were at the limits. We were actually above limits.
Okay.
And so both of them came back and said, "Don't go." Like they said, "Hey, we're over limits." And the first guy said, "We're over limits." I was like, and by the way, I knew that we had to go. We had to go.
Okay.
And then I looked at the second guy, Chris, and I was like, I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was basically, "What do you think?" No. And I was like, "Are you sure?" And he goes, "I am absolutely sure." I was like, You build a plan, team agrees to it.
Yeah.
And then the team comes back and says, "We're out of limits." So do I, at that point, override the decision? Like, yep, we made a plan. We went through all the particulars of it. We looked at it. We said, "This is our plan." And then do I do a hot shot? Like, "Oh no, we're going to muscle our way through this." And like everyone else, even though you guys all have tons of experience and you actually observed it, you're coming back and telling me what you observed. Because I didn't actually observe it. They went and looked at it and said, "We can't go because of X, Y, Z." And then it was an environmental issue.
Yeah.
So it wasn't it was, and so then I was like, do I override my team and say I don't value what you say? Or do I go with what we agreed to and say we're doing? So I chose to take the personal hit and knowing that I was going to get in trouble for it. And then
So you took the 2x4.
pretty much,
You took the gun out your hand.
pretty much,
With the 2x4.
Pretty
Which is
much.
phenomenal leadership. Do you think it prepared you for later on too? Because my wife says this, you stick to the plan, you make a plan, you stick to the plan, but you go with the flow,
yeah. So
which is the hardest thing.
yeah. And so that's where, so then the guy came back to me 15 years later and said he would have died. Okay. So I said, okay, the problem was not, and this is where I keep rethinking things. The problem was not a decision of go to not go. The problem was, it took me years later, is we didn't prep that guy, my chief and me, we didn't prep that guy well enough to make sure that he was safe on that evolution. That's where we made the mistake. The mistake was not in the decision or
To go or not go.
not go. It was, we had a guy who was first platoon who did not do what we had told him to do to prep. He was improperly prepared. So that's where the chief and I had let him down.
Yeah.
That was the mistake. And that's where I keep thinking these things through, is like, oh, that's the problem. So there's 5 whys. Have you heard of the 5 whys before?
I haven't heard. I'm sure I've at some point I did, but tell me the 5 whys.
So the 5 whys is, example is, you have to ask questions. You have to ask why 5 times to really get to the root cause. So
Sounds like my son.
yeah. Why did the car not start?
Got it.
The battery was dead.
Why?
Why was the battery dead? The cable was loose. The grounding cable was loose. Why was the grounding cable loose? It wasn't tightened properly. Why was it not tightened properly? Because the manual says tied to the specs, and the specs are wrong. So the root cause, and that was just a scenario.
That was only 4 whys, and you took
Yeah.
us down deep.
So the root cause was the manual, the training manual wasn't properly written on how to do the specs. So they had this fault that, as an example, that if they just tightened it, the battery wouldn't have died. So the root cause was not the battery the battery was dead, didn't start, but the root cause of why it was dead is because the grounding strap wasn't done properly. So you have to go through those 5 whys. So that's with this one guy who wasn't prepared. We didn't go through. So that was the lesson learned there.
Yeah.
It was not, did I make the right decision for McRaven or not? It was, sure, we could debate if it was right. But
should we have you two together and debate that? I think it would be awesome.
no, actually,
Like make a case for it.
so I saw him, it had been 20 years, and I saw him at American Hotel Lodging Association conference. He was the lead speaker.
He was the speaker. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you walk by and be like, yo, I was right?
No.
You didn't? Do you think he would find jest in it? Do you think he would find the humor in that part of it 15 years later?
He probably doesn't even remember it.
Okay.
He has seen so much.
Yeah.
And so,
Do you think he would chuckle a little bit?
sure.
Would it make your heart glad though? Because there's sometimes I do stuff that's just for me. Like nobody understands this. Most of my jokes at home, when I say them to my family, because my mom said, if one person laughs, the joke is funny. And so I always laugh at my own jokes, which
Correct.
makes it the one person.
Correct. 1,000%.
Would it make your heart, would it make you like, haha, not like, hey, I'm right, but just in a, or no, it wouldn't be.
No. So very graceful man.
Yeah.
Very graceful. So, when we were at the show, there was 2 other people with me. There was Josh, my son, and then Rajesh Kumar, who's a head of product. And Emma McRaven was so graceful. I walked away and he spent time talking to them, just talking to 2 of them. And that really made Rajesh's day.
Yeah.
Like he was like, and then my son had a chance to actually talk to Emma McRaven. But the moment, and I did capture this there is a picture of this one. So we had spoke beforehand and we just kind of talked about, hey, how are things going, et cetera. And so then I do kind of the quick interlude, the quick intro for him, and he comes up on the stage, and the head of he's at the time Chief Operating Officer, Kevin, shakes McRaven's hand, and then he comes up and sees him, and then greets me second, and I get ready to start shaking his hand, and he gives me a hug. But if you look at the picture, it looks like I reached out for the hug because it was like for me, that was the moment. It wasn't like, aha, I was right. It was just, and by the way, it's weird, like getting a hug from a 4-star admiral meant something to me, like, but it actually did.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever shared this with anyone. I haven't shared that with anyone.
There we go. We got exclusives here.
Yeah. So, but it was like, it was that hug of just like, hey, and it wasn't, it didn't, I don't think it meant anything to him. It was just like, hey, just being polite and all that stuff. But it was just like, there's a saying, long live the brotherhood in the SEALs, which we could argue over is the brotherhood the right word, but it's kind of like stick together, et cetera, and all that stuff. But it was just kind of like after I left the teams, I completely left. So I really didn't stay in contact because I kind of feel like you need to either be all the way in the SEALs or all the way out and not have a foot half in, half out.
Okay.
So I intentionally stepped all the way out so that I wouldn't be eager to jump back in because that was my focus. That was my previous life. Now I'm going to go off and do what I wanted to do as a kid. As a kid, I always wanted to be a business guy. That was my goal. It was never to be in the Navy, never to be a Navy SEAL. It was to be a business guy. Why? I don't know. But that was like, I'm going to be a business guy. What that meant, I have no idea. But and so I'm actually doing what I said I was a kid to do.
Yeah.
And so we talked about earlier when I was 85, no regrets.
Yeah.
So I walked into the hospital, the VA who saved my life. And I said, hey, I have a slight chest pain. Like I didn't even, so I ended up into the hospital because I got on with the tele-nurse and she goes, you need to come in. And so then I went in and I checked in and I didn't sit down in the waiting room. They immediately put me in, walked me in, put me on the table and hooked me up. I'm like, oh gosh, this is about the quickest I'm going to be called out for being a hypochondriac. Like about 5 minutes, they're going to say, you're fine.
Yeah.
And they took a blood test and my heart rate was fine. Blood pressure was fine. Like everything was normal. I'm like, oof. Yep. Hypochondriac.
Yeah.
Full on. And then they came back about half an hour. I was like, hey, something's not quite right. Yeah, we're going to test you again in an hour. So they test me again.
That's a long hour.
No,
it isn't.
No,
because you just calmed your mind. For a normal person, though, Jeff, not a superhero like you that saves people, you know, on your run with your maroon shorts that don't matter, pants that don't match your shirt, in your drawers. That for you is normal, but for everyone else, that hour would be like, man, I'm waiting to see if there's truly something wrong.
No, I'm waiting for them to come back and tell me you're a hypochondriac. You're fine.
Okay. Because that's a positive mindset though. That's cool.
Yeah. So they come back and they said, yeah, you're pretty elevated. And and I forget the name, but there's a protein or something that shows up if your heart's in distress.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not a doctor, else I would know what it is.
There we go.
So, and if I'd stayed at Holiday Inn last night,
and you would know.
I would know.
There's one right down the street from us.
Yes, there is.
There is.
Yes.
Right here in Carlsbad.
Yes.
Right near the studio.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So, so then they came back and goes, oh, you're pretty elevated. And the doctor goes, yeah, we're not sure what it is. We're not sure if you have a heart virus or if you've had a heart attack. I'm like,
wow.
Okay. So then I walk back in. So they move me out of the emergency room. They move me into, it wasn't ICU, but it was a layer right below ICU, like whatever the thing. I walk in and the doctors look at my charts. They look at me walk in and I'm just walking and I look at them and I kind of wave to them. They look at me and they look at the charts and they're like, and they come up. It's like, you are not presenting as what's showing on the inside of you right now. Like outside's not matching the inside.
Because you were calm and all this stuff.
No, because I was walking.
Yeah.
Walking, no pain.
Yeah.
Like.
This is where resilience sometimes can hurt you because you can push through regular pain. You're at a 2, you're say, or maybe a 3. Whereas so do you find that can be challenging?
Here's the key point. What was happening to me was not abnormal. People have heart attacks like this. That I want to be very clear on that.
Was it the Widowmaker?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. And by the way, I want to be very clear on this. What I had is not abnormal. people have this, and this is like,
And they just walk around and
yeah.
they're fine.
So like if there's one point that and the reason why I bring this up, bring up the story is,
yeah.
what I had happen is not that unique. You can have a heart attack and not know you have it. And so they ended up, so they, even the next day, they're like, we're not sure what's going on with you. And so we're either going to do a scan or we're going to scope you. We're not sure what we're going to do. And they decided, hey, we're just going to scope you.
Yeah.
So they ended up scoping me and they go, yep, you had blockage. And so I had 91% in 2 places. And this is where I kind of, they were right next to each other, like right next to each other. One was an older one. And so I'd been functioning for quite a while with only about 9% of the blood flow coming through that part for my heart. And then the second one was so close together to the first one was that they were able to fix it with 1 stent. So someone was looking over me because
I know who he was.
Yep. So do I. So if that second blockage, the new one, had just gone into the first one, I would have been dead. And so
because you've been through so many different, I mean, let's be serious. You're not going to tell me the details on it. I know that until we turn off the mics and then I get you a couple drinks and then you tell me the stories. I'm joking with you, Jeff. But you go through those things. You've been through life and death situations in your life, though. You've been through a lot of them. Did this do the like when I say the normal, oh, wow, this changed everything for me. My mentality, I think of life different. Did that happen for you or no?
Great question. So
that's why I'm here, Jeff.
Yes. So came out of surgery, and this was on the 24th, I had my surgery.
Got it.
And the nurse, who did not stay calm, came in and said, because I did this blood test afterward and said, hey, your scores are going the wrong way. And I didn't know what that meant, but he came in kind of freaking out enough. And I was like, oh. So I text my sister like, hey, things aren't looking so good. And then I like, delete. I said, hey, everything's fine, but here's where my bank accounts are. Because my dad had just passed away less than a year earlier. I knew what a pain the process was. My sister's the executor of my will.
Okay.
I told her the day earlier, hey, here's where everything is. Before I went, like as soon as I figured out what was going on, and then I was like, oh, like maybe this is it. So then after I texted her, here's all the bank accounts are, everything's fine. Here's what the bank accounts are, because I didn't want her to worry, because there was nothing that there's nothing anyone could do at that point.
Yeah.
And people asked me, were you by yourself? I was like, yes. And like, why don't you want people around? I was like, I don't want people around with me, because at that point I got to focus on what am I going to do to stay alive.
Yeah.
I don't want to be talking about, oh, woe to you, this is horrible for you. Like, no. Like, get those thoughts out of my head. Like, we got to be laser focused on what are we going to do to get out of this thing. So then I kind of thought maybe this is it. And so I sat there in bed at 58, which is the flip of 85. And I said, don't want to die, but I'm okay if I did. I have no regrets. So on January 24th, I was given a gift. I had a real life experience. And and this goes back to your original question, it was absolutely different, because I've had a couple times where I've had bullets within pretty close to my head.
Yeah.
And you hear them go by, and you hear the crack from the sound. And if they're subsonic, it's different sound. And so those I've always kind of giggled afterwards. But just kind of my dark humor, actually, oh, that missed. And then by the way, one of those shots was an Encinitas. So I want to give context so people don't think like, oh, this is a non-war story.
Encinitas.
Yes.
Are you allowed to tell that story?
Well, the cops were mad at me. They took me a half hour to call them on it. I was like, I didn't have a phone on me.
Did you apprehend somebody?
No, but I know where it came from.
Okay.
So, yeah, not
bad shot.
Don't know, because either it was the intentional to hit me, bad shot, or intentional just kids playing around, because I think it was kids screwing around. Yeah. So
For those of you who don't know Encinitas is not the place where you would think of right off the bat that gunfire is happening. So,
nope.
yeah.
Awesome city.
Okay. Phenomenal city. Not as cool as Carlsbad, but.
Yep. Lived in both Carlsbad
Yeah.
and
Which one do you prefer? If you had to choose one.
I really like Leucadia and its funkiness.
Leucadia is great.
Yeah. So
People got mad at me on this, and I said that Leucadia is the closest thing. People are going to get mad, and they're going to shout this out, and we're going to clip this, and I'm going to put it out, and people are going to be mad at me.
Yep.
Encinitas is the closest thing on the mainland to Maui.
Yeah.
And Hawaiians, people that are from Hawaii, I'm not comparing the two because Maui is its own, like it's my favorite place in the world. But the closest thing on the mainland that I've ever seen is Leucadia.
So I lived in Hawaii for a year.
Where?
Oahu. I live in Kailua.
Okay. Station there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I love Hawaii.
Great.
But I just, there's just some funkiness and cool vibe. Like you think about Fish 101, shout out.
Yes.
Fish 101, like the pictures on the wall. Of those.
I wrote about him in my book.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the fishermen who are on the side, that single guy that would like, I don't know what I don't know if that dollies or dolly, whatever they're called, but riding out, he's going through the surf zone, going out fishing, comes back in like that. That was like, if you think about men were men, that was a tough life. And just cool dude with his motor, cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Not the smoking's cool, but just cool place. It just has some cool vibes. So, but where I live now in Carlsbad, it's super cool.
Which one would you choose? You still haven't chosen. You've given us Carlsbad, Encinitas. Like
I'd take either.
But I would
not. But where I live now, I would not trade.
Okay, so you're choosing Carlsbad.
I'm choosing where I live in Carlsbad because I'm literally.
Jeff is choosing Carlsbad. He has put in his vote for Carlsbad.
I'm choosing my house that I live in now.
Okay, see, you're giving a way out. You haven't fully decided on this. You're acting on it, but you're still teetering.
So
I've observed that.
Yes. Because it really comes down to,
and then I'm orientating myself to your mentality, and I'm seeing that you haven't really decided, but you're acting on indecision.
It's how close can I be to the water?
Okay.
So I literally, so I can stand up on my back deck and I can see the ocean.
If you could take the same house, put it in Encinitas or put it in Carlsbad,
that's a good question.
Which one did you do?
If I could pick my spot, it would be whichever one I can get closer to the ocean on. So
if it was the exact same closeness to the ocean, same house, Encinitas or Carlsbad.
If I'm closer to Fish 101, I take the Fish 101, Leucadia.
Okay.
If
Jeff, there's a lot of contemplation in this.
There is.
If we were in wartime right now,
there'd be no contemplation.
Yeah, we would have got shot. Both of us.
Because that would not be a decision.
So we're on the battlefield. You got to choose Carlsbad. You got to choose Encinitas.
Where I am right now.
Okay, Carlsbad. Say it.
Carlsbad.
Got it. Boom. He got vote for Carlsbad. Now the no regrets thing I think is amazing. I started the podcast, and you know why is because my two kids, right? And I've never said it to them, but I don't want them to have any regrets. I mean, my mom, that one word, shit, like just move on, get better, right? What advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use both their names, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I remember what yes was for Maddox McKenna, and I wish I could remember what I said before.
I don't remember what you said.
But I'm sure it was something whimsical.
Stay in Carlsbad.
Could have been.
Okay.
I think it would have been stay in North County.
Oh, see, now we're waffling here.
No, but I'd still say if you could stay in Carlsbad, great. Like stay in Carlsbad.
Okay. Right.
For Maddox and McKenna, I think it would be just gold. Live when you're 85, have no regrets. And by the way, it doesn't mean that you're not gonna make mistakes, because you're gonna make mistakes, but reflect on them and do better next time.
Yeah,
that's all you can ask yourself. And so live a life where you try and have no regrets when you're 85. And if you can figure that out, then you've won.
Jeff, where did the Navy SEALs and that type of training, that elite training, where did it not prepare you for business?
I don't think it. Learning the language. Because I learned the language of, so back in the day, it was like TQM and TQL. TQM is total quality management.
Okay.
And the other one is total quality leadership.
Got it.
Which one is which, but it was One was the military and one was civilian world. So
Which one is which?
I forget, but
I would think the leadership would be.
civilian, I bet,
Do you think so?
probably. Because leadership sounds more uplifting,
Oh,
more cool.
okay. Because
Leadership,
yeah,
because no one wants to talk about management. Like management is, people think about management as a subset, or leadership and management. Think of management is down here and leadership's up here.
huh.
So but it's and this is one thing that I go back to school every so often.
Okay.
So after Damon, which is a consumer engagement company, which I
Yeah.
did for 10 years, the one that was 400 million,
And then went to 1.2 billion,
1.2 billion.
3 times.
Yep.
Boom.
So that was, how do you engage consumers in retail stores, in a supermarket, in a club warehouse, in a convenience store? How do you engage consumer? But then I started doing some other projects, which now I needed to do digital marketing, what is called at the time new media. And so I heard people talk about this new media. And I knew I needed to do it. And this goes back to your AI question. I knew I needed to learn new media, but I was like, what is this new media stuff? And so I would talk to people for about 5-10 minutes, and it would take me 5-10 minutes to figure out if they were BSing me. Like, oh, they just know the buzzwords and they're not down. So what I did was I went through University of Illinois Urbana online classes, which I used to never be a fan of online classes back in the day when I got my MBA.
Yeah.
But I took 6 classes and I learned the language of new media, digital media. So I took fundamentally what I knew from in-store media, from that world, and now took it to the digital world. And it's really, those two worlds are now intertwined, because you're in the physical world, you go to the digital world, and you go back and forth. And so what marketers do is they usually focus on one or the other. They used to focus on one or the other. And they're like, oh, we're over here in the physical world, and now we're over the digital world. Like, look like an X. I'm like, no, that's actually not what it is. It's actually a straight line for the consumer. It's the physical world comes into it and the digital world comes to it. The consumer's path is always straight. It is always straight. It from someone, an observer, it may look like it's going all over the place, but for the consumer, it's a straight line. It just happens to be for them because that's the path they're taking. But if you're on the dance floor, you see your partner right there. If you're on the balcony, you're looking down at the dance floor and you see all the partner and everyone else on there. So you're taking a step back and look at things. So as a marketer watching the path of the consumer, you're seeing the squirrely path. But if you're on the dance floor, you see you're just on the straight line or you're just staying in place. And so I think that's where, for marketers, you really have to not look at it as, are we doing this or that? And they moved away from this. But early on, about 8 years ago, that was a problem. They're over in the physical world and now they're in the digital world. No, it's straight. You have to get these intersecting. You get them on their path to consumption, or their path. Actually, it's the path to purchase. How do you engage the consumer? So every time you do that, how can you get in there? Because if you tell something once, they don't remember it twice, 3 times. Oh yeah, I think I've heard about that. And so when you're, as a marketer, you need to keep touching the consumer, because people don't buy from you. People buy when someone that they trust or they like, and that's how you have to build that trust. And so you need to keep building that trust, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's the path. And so the consumer is, you touch them physically, you touch them digitally, and you just keep doing that path. And you need to do it in a way that doesn't feel like it's overwhelming. And that's kind of the piece. And so
was that not, I mean, because when you're looking at that and adapting in different languages, learning the processes, all those things, learning the process, yes, from the military, from elite training, learning people's languages. From growing up I wasn't in the military. I was in a military family, military brat, represent, whoop, whoop. But most of my dad's communication was not, let me learn your language. It was, I'm going to tell you what to do. You're going to go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is that a part that, I mean, because when I think about it, I think about like elite training like yours, the things that you were able to do, all those things, which are so amazing. Was there anything that, again, that the Navy SEALs didn't get you ready for business?
Everything was stepping stone. So everything was. So it got me here. Now I needed to, and got me into had me do this role. And so when I got out of the Navy, or when I got my MBA with an emphasis in supply chain / procurement.
Yeah.
So I learned the language of procurement. So then IBM hired me because I spoke their language for procurement. Then I did that. And then there was a company that was starting, a startup that was doing procurement software.
Got it.
So then I transitioned to that, and then I learned how to sell. So I upgraded my skill set. So I'm building from procurement, leadership, learned procurement, went to IBM, went from selling procurement software. So when I was selling to the customers such as JP Morgan Chase, Verizon, I was, as a procurement person, I spoke their language and selling to them what they needed.
Got it.
And then I went to another startup in the supply chain space. And then I kind of did this full shift into consumer engagement, which I never thought I'd like, but loved it because it was touching a lot of people. To give you perspective how relevant that business is, just the Costco portion in a single year, a couple of years ago, in a single year, touched the equivalent of 2.5 times the Chinese population.
Wow.
That is just people coming up to the cart in Costco. 2.5 times. That is a lot of impressions.
Well, and all the way through the journey, what I'm hearing from you is that all the way through the journey, you utilized very similar principles when you walked into those places. You were having to observe.
Yep.
You were having to orient yourself. You were having to decide, and you were acting in it. And you were utilizing those principles all the way up until now with LocationTech.
Yep.
Is there a company that shouldn't use LocationTech?
No, we are. So we started in hotels.
But is there a company out there that shouldn't have it? That's like, nah, you're not. You're good.
Yeah, so, small companies.
Small companies.
So
what's a small company?
I think so. Let me talk about the companies, the areas where we're serving right now.
Okay.
So we're in hotels.
Got it.
We're in hospitals.
Uh-huh.
So we actually, I don't know if this was a good stat or not. We actually have right now, we're in a customer in the Northeast that pushes the trigger once every day.
Wow.
Once every day, security comes and helps them in a hospital. So
that's massive.
Yep. So and that's a good example of frontline workers, doctors and nurses in emergency rooms. And I walked that hospital and I was there just because we were doing some things that were kind of different. And so I try and get to most of our customers, especially if it's because then I can actually see what's going on. So I can walk it from a responder's perspective and go, aha, I got it. When they talk to me, I understand what the perspective is. Because just like as a responder, just because one of my jobs in the Navy was a firefighter on the ship, New Jersey.
Yeah. So
how would I look at this from a firefighter, or how would I look at it from an active shooter? Like, how would I walk through this as a responder? So when they're talking to me, because my procedures are not going to be their procedures. So I need to understand their perspective and why do they do that? I may agree or disagree, but it doesn't matter. We need to map to their process. So back to the original question, who would not use? I think people we do serve, we're in schools.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hotels, we're in schools.
Got it.
We are in hospitals.
Yeah.
We're in healthcare groups.
Okay.
We are in government buildings.
Okay.
And I think that's even interesting in its own right. So it's kind of like where people are now nervous that they need to have someone come assistance. So wherever someone's working by themselves and they need assistance and they need someone to come, that's the place we fit. And so it's very similar to the help by phone and panic button.
Yeah.
Like it could be at home.
I was thinking of that earlier.
Yep.
I didn't know how you would, you obviously laugh at some of my jokes and I laugh at all of my jokes, but
I think I laugh pretty much at all of them.
Well, I hope so. But it made me think of I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yep.
Right. What was that? Was that Life Alert?
Yeah. So the difference between Life Alert or that one is it just gets you to the building.
Got it. It doesn't show you exactly where it's at.
So what we do is we get you not only to the right floor, we get you to the right building. Right room, right floor and right room.
The lady that did the original commercials probably not with us anymore because that was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you could find one of her grandchildren and have them do a commercial for LocationTech?
That would be fun.
I think it would be great marketing. But there has to be a connect. You have to connect the two.
Yep. That would be the hard part. And so
That would be tough.
So one of my startups I did was what I've learned from doing enough startups and doing enough companies, it needs to be only one step. Because if someone has to transition to 2 steps, like
The friction points. You got to take the friction out of it. Yeah.
One friction, but if you try and do 2 friction points, it's too far for them to reach.
Okay.
And that's a whole chapter. And a whole
What if
book.
they were wearing a shirt that had their grandma on it?
Well, I think my first thought is whatever the lady's name's from Wendy's, Where's the Beef?
Yes.
That was a great, like
Phenomenal.
And I wish I remember her name, but she'll live forever.
But why wouldn't you go after her family and then have her family do Where's the Beef?
Well, what I would do is I would do a use case study, and I would put that picture up and see do people recognize her.
Ah.
So
you're observing.
Yes.
You're orientating yourself to the way that the customer deals.
Yes.
From that, you make a decision.
Yes. So
and your actions are based off that.
So is it a joke that only you and I would laugh at, or a large audience?
Would you laugh at it?
No, I'd chuckle and go, "That's pretty clever."
But would you would you belly laugh at it? Because there are commercials that I'll see that I'll be like that. Like, I don't know if have you seen the Squarespace one with the there's a like an elderly Asian guy, and he's in a leather chair, like a beaten leather chair. It's a recliner. He's in the recliner, and the recliner is moving through the city, and then it goes out into the like through the woods, and he's just typing, and it's just following him.
Yeah.
And then it gets out to the woods, and there's a circle, and it says, you know, he finally completes his website about a nature retreat.
Oh no,
it's genius.
Yeah. So commercial works when you walk away and sticks. So can I take a quick break and then come back? Because I want to talk about this. This talks about something.
Well, you can. You got to go to the bathroom.
Yes,
that's what you got to do.
Yes.
Well, why don't we do this? We're gonna have you on. We're gonna have you on another time too. Which we need to continue to sit down and continue to talk. I'm gonna tell some of these people this story that you're gonna tell me, but I want to respect your time too. So what we're gonna do is I want to have you back on the show though. I'm not going to feed you as much water. I'm going to do that,
or tea,
which I think would be amazing. But I just want to thank you, man, for being on the show. It's been
so I think it was your dad.
Yeah.
It's not, or somewhere you had the saying, it's about not how people feel when you're in the room, it's how they feel when you leave the room.
Yeah. The vibe.
And that is one of your gifts that you have is whenever I leave you, I'm always like, wow, that guy is awesome. Like you always leave me an upbeat, and that's one of your many gifts.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate you, man. Hey, for those of you out there with a large company, if you don't choose LocationTech, you're silly. You should have it. Also too, that anytime you get a chance to spend time with Jeff, it's an absolute pleasure, man. I mean, for me, it was like Christmas last night. I was like, I get to sit down not only with my buddy Jeff, but then I'm explaining it to other people, given that credibility part of it, because they're like, well, who's Jeff? Well, Jeff just so happens to be a former Navy SEAL, a businessman, an incredible human, a national hero like you are, and I get a chance to be able to sit down with you and, you know, sometimes try and ask you silly questions, ask you good questions, things like that. But it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Thank you.
Hey, let's give a big shout out to Nick Horgan too, because that's the whole reason.
Absolutely. Nick's the man.
Amazing insights. Nick Horgan, he's the man.
Yep. Absolutely right.
And if you don't know, the live version of the podcast is going to be happening, and Jeff is going to be at the Vibe Room, so you'll get to meet Jeff that way. So, Jeff, you're officially off the hot seat.
Thanks.
Peace, love, and soul.
Thank you.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will know. can't walk in my shoes.